this video, we'll discuss what makes John Quincy Adams revered as one of the most accomplished presidents among historians, but unknown among many Americans. JQ is regarded as one of the most intelligent presidents in terms of IQ, but many would agree that that did not turn into incredible White House accomplishments. After controversially taking office in 1825, he worked tirelessly to achieve the America that he envisioned. Before we go further, if you share my interest in U.S. history, please consider clicking that subscribe button down below. It apparently really helps with the algorithm to grow our community. And if you've already done so, thank you for joining the community. Now let's get into it. One of John Quincy Adams' most famous accomplishments happened after his presidency, in the Amistad Case. In 1839, a group of Africans from the country of Sierra Leone had been kidnapped and sold into the slave trade in Havana, Cuba, but they rebelled and took control over a ship called the Amistad. The U.S. government wanted to send them back to their captors, but Adams fought for their freedom in front of the United States Supreme Court. Adams argued that these men were free people who had the right to defend themselves. Adams and the would-be slaves won the case, and their captives were allowed to return home to Sierra Leone. They killed the captain and two other crew members of the Amistad ship. Adams led this attack, which showed his commitment to American justice and human rights. JQ, like his father, never owned slaves, and often called for the abolishment of slavery. Both JQ and his father John agreed that the revolution would not be complete until all slaves are freed. During his presidency, John Quincy Adams focused on improving the country's education and infrastructure. He believed that developments such as roads, canals, and bridges would help Americans connect, grow the economy, and improve the nation's footprint. Adams also wanted to create a national university in scientific research to make America a leader in knowledge and education. Many historians agree he was quite successful in this endeavor. While many of his ideas were not popular at the time, they were ahead of their era and showed his vision for a stronger and smarter nation. Adams became president in 1825, following the election of 1824, one of the most controversial elections in U.S. history. 4 candidates ran for president that year: Adams, Andrew Jackson, Henry Clay, and William Crawford. No candidate won enough votes to become president outright through an electoral college majority. This meant that the United States House of Representatives would decide the president. Andrew Jackson had by far the most votes from the public, winning both the national popular vote and the most electoral votes. However, somehow, Adams was awarded the presidency with the help of Henry Clay, another candidate who supported him. What? Clay ran against him, didn't he? Yes, he did, but only the top 3 candidates would advance to the vote in the House, leaving out Clay. Because Clay did not get enough votes from the public, he was eliminated from the House vote, meaning Clay could no longer become president. Henry Clay hated Andrew Jackson, so he supported Adams once he was out of the race. Adams struck a deal with Clay that Clay would be the Secretary of State if he convinced his friends in the House to vote Adams into office. In this era of American history, being Secretary of State was the most common pathway for becoming the next president. That plan backfired. Make no mistake, Adams did become president and serve out a full term, but Clay never would, despite running 5 times. When Adams was sworn in as president, many people accused him of making a corrupt bargain with Clay to get the support in the House and win the presidency. This made it hard for Adams to lead, as his legacy was highly shadowed by this controversial election, and they were angry about the election, even some of his supporters. The controversy hurt the Adams presidency, and it showed how complicated democracy can be and taught important lessons about the fairness and security of elections. This, quote, corrupt bargain would haunt the Adams presidency. Right, as for the negatives in the Adams presidency, he signed the Tariff of 1828, or as critics like to call it, the Tariff of Abominations. This tariff raised taxes on imported manufactured goods, hoping to reduce foreign competition with American manufacturing. Southerners, arguing that the tariff enhanced the interests of the northern manufacturing industry at their expense, referred to it as the Tariff of Abominations. Remember, both the North and South were beginning to grow more divided over issues, particularly slavery, which led to the Civil War 30 years after this tariff, but this tariff was one of the first major disputes between the North and the South. The tariff stains the Adams legacy because it sparked division between the North and the South, which would not heal until the Civil War was over. Even the challenges of his presidency, like the disputed election of 1824, added to his story as a leader who shaped the nation in many ways, especially his ability to guide the nation through very difficult times. Remarkably, John Quincy Adams was photographed in 1823, and that photo still exists. It's worth $300,000. Right, yeah, a little out of my budget. John Quincy Adams collapsed on the floor of the House chamber from a stroke and was carried to the Speaker's room, where 2 days later, he would die at the age of 80. Today, the Adams legacy inspires many people to stand up for what they believe in and work towards a better future. Adams worked tirelessly to ensure a great self-legacy, but he also enhanced the legacy of his predecessor, James Monroe. Monroe was the most unifying president in American history, but many Americans today have no idea who he is. Click here to learn more about him. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend.